Hello and welcome to the October edition of Starry Sky News. If you haven't seen one before, this is a monthly video that I do where I look at the latest astronomy news, latest astrophotography equipment coming to the market, and my best astrophotography targets for the coming month in the Northern Hemisphere. We've got a packed agenda for this video, so let's get straight into it. I'm going in reverse order this month and I'm going to start with astrophotography targets for October. So as usual, I'm creating this list based on objects that are good for any focal length, no matter what equipment you are using. My top 3 targets for this month, although technically it's actually 4, starts with the Crescent Nebula. There's still plenty of time left to collect data on those summer astrophotography targets, the Crescent Nebula being one of them. It's a great target either as the deep sky object itself, or if you've got a wider field setup, then including all of the nebulosity around the Seda region, which is where the Crescent Nebula is located, makes for a great wide field shot as well. The image that you can see on the screen now is a shot that I took with a modified crop sensor DSLR, the Canon 650D, and a 3-inch refractor Skywatcher EvoStar 72 ED, just to give you an idea of what that field of view looks like, and you can either crop in or out of that depending on what your field of view is. Okay, next up on the list is the Elephant's Trunk Nebula. That's still nice and high in the sky and will continue to be so throughout the month of October. I particularly like this object in the show palette, and here is an example of that from data that I used with Telescope Live. It's located in the constellation of Cepheus, which to me looks like a drawing of a house, particularly if I drew it anyway, because I'm absolutely terrible at drawing. All right, so we've started with 2 targets that are sort of coming to the end of their imaging for this astrophotography year. Let's start with something else that's now coming into the field of view in the Northern Hemisphere for astrophotography, and that's the California Nebula. If you look over to the east, as it's starting to get dark, you'll see the California Nebula rising in the sky. It will obviously get easier to image as we move through the months because it will start to be higher in the sky earlier on at night. However, now is a great time to start imaging it to make sure that you've got plenty of data on it as we move through the months. And I said there were 4 targets on this list, and that's because if you use a 50mm lens and a crop sensor DSLR or a full frame sensor with a slightly longer lens, then you can actually fit the Pleiades into the same field of view as well. And here's an example of that image that I took a couple of years ago with a crop sensor DSLR, Canon Nifty 50, the 50mm f1.8 lens, and the Skywatcher Star Adventurer. And you can find the California Nebula in the constellation of Perseus. All right, moving on to the latest astronomy news, and I hadn't intended when I started the series of videos for James Webb Space Telescope to make an appearance every single month, but it keeps making the headlines week after week, and so I don't feel as though I can ignore it. Have you seen this image of Neptune that James Webb Space Telescope took a couple of weeks ago? It was taken with JWST's near-infrared cam, which brings the planet's rings into full focus for the first time since 1989, when Voyager 2 did a flyby, and is the first time they've been captured in infrared. You can see 7 of Neptune's 14 moons in this image, but the most dominant by far is the moon Triton, seen above Neptune in this image with those huge diffraction spikes. Now that's some good news about James Webb Space Telescope, but before I move on to the bad news about it, let's hear about the sponsor of today's video, Brilliant. Brilliant is a website and app that teaches you about all kinds of STEM topics, and they have thousands of lessons available from beginner all the way up to advanced, with new content being added all the time. I learn best by doing. For me, it's the best way to learn, and so far I've been enjoying the astrophysics and scientific thinking courses, and I think these courses will resonate a lot with you too. Learning more about astrophysics will help me make better content for you, and I love how interactive all of the lessons are. I'm much further along with these courses now, and lately I've been enjoying the complexities of dark matter. I'm able to fit Brilliant into my life by just dedicating 30 minutes each day to it, and it's amazing how much I've learned so far. I'm learning about the science behind the galaxies and nebulae that we all take pictures of, and I think that is fantastic. To get started for free, visit brilliant.org/astroexploring or click on the link in the description down below. The first 200 of you will get 20% off Brilliant's annual premium subscription, and thank you so much to Brilliant for sponsoring this video. All right, back to James Webb Space Telescope and on to the bad news. The mid-infrared instrument, or MIRI, is suffering with a grating wheel friction issue. The grating wheel is what scientists use to choose the wavelength of light that they want to focus on. It's different to the filter wheel. Now, MIRI has 4 observation modes, and the grating wheel is only used in one of them, which is the medium resolution spectroscopy mode. So as I said, the problem that's been found is friction in the grating wheel, which means all observations operations in that mode have been paused while an assessment is carried out to decide on the best way forward. Hopefully they can sort it out soon. I will be sure to share an update when it's all fixed. All right, moving on to equipment news, and it's another month and another ZWO camera has been announced, or 2 cameras to be precise, but they're probably not quite what you're thinking. They are the ZWO ASI 990 and 991mm Pro. Now these are shortwave infrared cameras, and if I'm being completely honest, I'm kind of struggling to see much of an astronomical use for these. I think the use case is probably quite niche, and I think that's fine, but the sky is quite bright at the wavelengths that these are able to capture images in. Now if you look at the visible light spectrum, a human eye is typically able to see up to 700 nanometers. That's right up at the red end of the spectrum, but these cameras are sensitive all the way up to 1700 nanometers, which puts it right into the near infrared part of the spectrum, which would certainly make for some very interesting observations to have your own near infrared camera. But to be honest, I remain unconvinced, but perhaps that's currently because there's a multi-billion-dollar telescope out in space capturing these sorts of images on our behalf, and all of the data is available for us to use anyway. As for the price, well, ZWO hasn't formally released what the price of these will be yet. However, when I was doing some research, I could see that QHY have used the same Sony sensors that ZWO are using in their own shortwave infrared cameras, and they are priced at £15,000 and £30,000 respectively, and therefore I have to assume that these ZWO cameras will be somewhere in the same sort of region as that, which is clearly a lot of money, but equally I guess it is cheaper than building your own James Webb Space Telescope and trying to launch it into space. Now, William Optics have released a limited edition of their Red Cat, which is actually black and white, so it's not really a red cat at all, but you get my point. They have released a limited edition black and white cat. It is exactly the same specification as the Red Cat, but with these limited edition colours. I think it looks really cool. So if you're looking to buy a Red Cat, then why not go and check out this limited edition black and white cat? I will leave a link to them in the description down below. And in other news, the Astronomy Photographer of the Year results are in. The winner has been announced, and the overall winner is Gerald Raymond with this stunning image of Comet Leonard. I think it looks absolutely incredible, a very well worthy winner, and congratulations to you. I'll leave a link to the website in the description down below so that you can go and check out all of these images for all of the categories yourself. If you happen to be in London, then all of these images are on display in an exhibition at the National Maritime Museum in Greenwich. While you're there, then I highly recommend also checking out the Royal Observatory, and it's in an absolutely beautiful part of London, so definitely well worth checking out. Now, if you're looking to get into deep sky astrophotography but not entirely sure if it's for you, then you'll want to check out this video next, where I answer the question, is astrophotography hard, and give you my thoughts and opinions on it. Thanks once again to Brilliant for sponsoring this video, and thank you to you for watching this video. If you found it helpful, useful, entertaining, whatever, then don't forget to hit the like button and share, comment, subscribe, all of the YouTubery type of things, etc. And I'll see you in the next video.